The Arconian Empire's flagship, Eternal Dawn, hung in the darkness of space like a suspended blade, its crystalline hull refracting starlight across its 40-kilometer length. High Admiral Vextar stood at the observation deck, his four eyes fixed on the holographic display of a seemingly insignificant blue planet. Earth. Primitive, he muttered, mandibles clicking in contempt. The Arconians had watched humanity for decades, their cloaked observation posts scattered throughout the solar system. They had witnessed humanity's first hesitant steps into space, their clumsy attempts at colonizing Mars, their quaint space stations orbiting their world. But Vextar knew better than to trust appearances. In 3,000 years of conquest, the Arconian Empire had learned that underestimating even the most seemingly primitive species could be fatal. Their archives held records of civilizations that appeared defenseless, only to reveal devastating weapons when cornered. High Admiral, his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krell, approached with a data crystal, the latest intelligence report from our deep-cover observers. Vextar absorbed the crystal's contents through his neural interface. The humans were advancing faster than expected. Their quantum research was progressing at an alarming rate, though their practical applications seemed limited to communication and small-scale experiments. Their energy signatures are unusual, Krell noted. Our sensors detect periodic quantum fluctuations around their major military installations, but they disappear too quickly to analyze. Vextar's outer eyes narrowed. Increased surveillance. I want to know everything about their military capabilities before we make our presence known. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility known only as Deep Forge, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the massive quantum fold drive that would change humanity's fate. The device, looking like a massive geometric sculpture of impossible angles and pulsing energy conduits, represented humanity's greatest technological achievement. Final calibration complete, her AI assistant, Era, announced. Quantum fold efficiency at 99.7% stability. Elena smiled. The Arconians thought they were being clever with their cloaked observation posts, but humanity had detected them years ago. Their presence had only accelerated Earth's unified defense program. Admiral James Chen entered the control room, his weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the quantum fold drive. Dr. Rodriguez, the Security Council is meeting in an hour. They'll want to know if we're ready. The drive works, Admiral, Elena replied, her eyes still fixed on the mathematical perfection of the device. We can begin installation on the carriers whenever you give the word. Above them, hidden in underwater hangars across Earth's oceans, lay humanity's secret weapon, the quantum fold carriers. Each vessel was larger than anything humanity had publicly built, their very existence concealed by elaborate deceptions and quantum masking technology. The carriers represented a fundamental shift in space warfare. While the Arconians relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, humanity had developed something entirely different. The quantum fold drive didn't just move through space. It manipulated the fabric of reality itself, allowing for tactical possibilities that the Arconians couldn't even comprehend. We've detected increased activity in their observation network, James reported. Intelligence suggests they're planning to make their presence known soon. Elena nodded. The Arconians would come with their massive fleets and demands for submission, expecting to find a primitive civilization barely capable of reaching its own moon. Instead, they would encounter humanity's real space force, hidden beneath a carefully crafted facade of technological inferiority. Let them come, Elena said, watching the quantum fold drive pulse with contained power. We've been preparing for this moment for 15 years. It's time to show them that humanity isn't as primitive as they think. In high orbit, Vextar's flagship continued its silent watch, its crew unaware that they were observing only what humanity wanted them to see. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of the galaxy's power structure. The High Admiral gave the order to begin preparations for first contact. The Arconian Empire had conquered thousands of worlds, and Earth would be no different. or so they thought. As the massive Arconian fleet began assembling at the edge of the solar system, humanity's hidden forces waited patiently. In underwater bases, underground bunkers, and secret facilities across the globe, men and women performed their duties with quiet determination. They knew that the future of their species would depend on the success of their deception and the effectiveness of their revolutionary technology. The quantum-fold carriers would soon rise from their hidden berths, ready to defend Earth with capabilities that the Arconians couldn't imagine. Humanity's greatest test was approaching, and they were ready to prove that appearances could be deceiving. The Arconian invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace in a cascade of purple light, their crystalline ships stretching across Earth's orbit like a net of starlight. 5,000 vessels strong, it was a force that had brought countless civilizations to their knees. High Admiral Vextar allowed himself a moment of pride as he observed the fleet's perfect formation. "Begin broadcast on all frequencies," he commanded. The message was simple: surrender or face extinction. The same choice the Arconian Empire had presented to hundreds of species before. On Earth, in the reinforced chambers of the Global Defense Council, military leaders from nations across the world watched the Arconian fleet's arrival with calculated calm. Admiral Sarah Chen, daughter of James Chen and Supreme Commander of Earth's hidden fleet, stood before the assembled leaders. "The Arconians are transmitting their ultimatum," she announced, her voice steady. "They're giving us 6 hours to surrender and accept their terms of vassalage." The room remained silent. This was the moment they had prepared for, the culmination of 15 years of secrecy and technological development. Every person in that room knew their part in what was to come. "Execute Operation Lazarus," Sarah ordered. Deep beneath the oceans, massive hangar doors began to open. The quantum-fold carriers, humanity's best-kept secret, powered up their revolutionary drives. Each carrier was a masterpiece of human engineering, their sleek hulls housing technology that defied conventional physics. The Defiant, Sarah's flagship, rose from its berth in the Pacific. Nearly 3 kilometers long, it was a fraction of the size of the Arconian vessels. But size wasn't everything. The quantum-fold drive at its heart, developed by Dr. Rodriguez and her team, gave it capabilities that would rewrite the rules of space combat. In high orbit, Vextar's sensors detected the first signs that something was amiss. Quantum fluctuations, similar to those they'd observed before, but far more intense, began appearing across Earth's surface. "High Admiral," Krell called out, his voice tense. "We're detecting multiple energy signatures emerging from the planet's oceans." Before Vextar could respond, the quantum-fold carriers revealed themselves. Unlike conventional ships that had to slowly accelerate through the atmosphere, these vessels simply shifted reality around them, appearing in orbit as if they had always been there. "Impossible," Vextar whispered, all 4 eyes widening at the sight. The humans had somehow mastered quantum manipulation on a scale that even the Arconian Empire hadn't achieved. Admiral Chen's voice rang out across all frequencies, reaching every Arconian ship. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. We reject your terms of surrender. You have 1 hour to leave our solar system, or we will be forced to demonstrate exactly why that would be in your best interest." The Arconian command staff stared in disbelief at the human vessels. Their sensors couldn't get a proper lock on them. The ships seemed to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, making targeting nearly impossible. Vextar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. The humans had deceived them completely, hiding their true technological capabilities behind a facade of primitive spaceflight. But the Arconian Empire hadn't become the galaxy's dominant power by backing down from a challenge. "Launch fighters," he commanded. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Show these humans what real space warfare looks like." Thousands of Arconian fighters poured from their carrier ships, their crystalline forms glinting in the sunlight as they moved to engage the human fleet. But Sarah Chen and her crews were ready for this. "All carriers, initiate quantum-fold combat protocols," she ordered. "Show them what we can do." The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries to come. The human carriers didn't fight like conventional ships. They existed in multiple places at once, their quantum-fold drives allowing them to strike from impossible angles and vanish before the Arconians could respond. The Defiant led the charge, its advanced weapons systems targeting the Arconian fleet's command and control networks. Each shot was precisely calculated, each maneuver executed with perfect timing. This wasn't just a battle, it was the unveiling of a new era in warfare. As the first wave of Arconian fighters approached, humanity revealed another surprise. Smaller craft emerged from the carriers, each equipped with miniaturized quantum-fold drives. These fighters could literally fold space around enemy vessels, trapping them in localized quantum fields that rendered their weapons useless. Vextar watched in horror as his supposedly invincible fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy they had gravely underestimated. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were revolutionizing space combat before his eyes. The battle had only just begun, but already the balance of power was shifting. Humanity had kept its greatest achievements hidden until the perfect moment. And now the Arconian Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about the danger of judging a species by its apparent level of technology. Space itself seemed to ripple as the quantum-fold carriers executed their attack plan. The Defiant, under Admiral Chen's command, led a series of strikes that defied conventional physics. One moment, the massive ship would appear to fragment into multiple quantum echoes, each one as real as the original. The next, it would reconstitute itself behind enemy lines, launching devastating attacks from impossible angles. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the quantum-fold drive's performance from her command center within the Defiant. "The drives are performing beyond expectations," she reported to Admiral Chen. "We're achieving 112% of projected efficiency." The Arconian fleet's precise formations began to break down as they struggled to combat an enemy they couldn't properly target. Their crystalline ships, beautiful but predictable in their movements, found themselves repeatedly outmaneuvered by vessels that seemed to ignore the basic laws of spacetime. High Admiral Vextar's flagship, the Eternal Dawn, shuddered as another quantum strike bypassed their shields completely. "How are they doing this?" he demanded, his composure finally cracking. "Our sensors can't maintain a lock." "High Admiral," Krell reported, his voice tight with stress, "we've lost contact with the entire third battle group. The humans, they're not just teleporting. They're somehow folding space itself around our ships." Indeed, humanity's quantum-fold technology represented something entirely new in warfare. Each carrier could create localized pockets of altered spacetime, trapping Arconian vessels in temporal bubbles where their weapons fire moved in slow motion, or their communications were delayed by hours. The Defiant's bridge was a center of controlled chaos as Sarah Chen coordinated the attack. "Battle Group Alpha, execute Pattern Sigma," she commanded. "Target their command and control nodes." "Battle Group Beta, prepare for temporal pincer movement." The human fighters demonstrated their own devastating capabilities. Unlike traditional space fighters that relied on thrusters and momentum, these quantum fighters could instantly change direction, appearing to teleport around enemy fire. They moved like a swarm of quantum ghosts, phasing through solid matter one moment and becoming hyper-dense projectiles the next. "They're adapting to our attack patterns," Sarah observed, watching as the Arconian fleet attempted to establish new defensive formations. "Time to show them something new." "Dr. Rodriguez, initiate Protocol Omega." Elena's fingers flew across her console, initiating a sequence they had only tested in simulations. The quantum-fold drives of all human vessels synchronized, creating a massive quantum field that encompassed the entire battlefield. Within this field, human ships could move with even greater freedom, while Arconian vessels found themselves fighting against localized distortions in spacetime. Their crystal ships, designed to channel and amplify energy weapons, began to resonate dangerously with the quantum fluctuations. Vextar watched in horror as sections of his fleet began to break apart, the crystalline structures of their ships vibrating at frequencies that threatened to shatter them. "All ships, emergency protocols," he shouted. "Reconfigure shield harmonics." But it was too late. The quantum field had turned the Arconians' greatest strength, their crystalline technology, into a critical weakness. Ships began to break apart, their elegant forms dissolving into clouds of glittering shards. The human fleet pressed their advantage, but not with the brutality the Arconians expected. Instead, they systematically disabled enemy vessels, using precisely calculated quantum fields to render them powerless without destroying them completely. "Your fleet is neutralized, High Admiral." Sarah's voice came through clearly on all frequencies. "Your ship's crystal matrices are now quantum-locked. Any attempt to power up your weapons will result in catastrophic resonance cascade. I suggest you consider your position carefully." In the Defiant Science Bay, Elena watched the battle through multiple quantum sensors. The technology she had helped develop was performing beyond her wildest expectations. The quantum fold drives weren't just changing the face of space combat. They were revealing new possibilities in physics itself. "Admiral," she called to Sarah, "we're detecting unusual quantum signatures from several Arconian vessels. They appear to be attempting some kind of emergency temporal jump." Sarah nodded grimly. "Let them go. They'll carry the message back to their empire. Earth is not the primitive world they thought we were." As the battle reached its climax, the remaining Arconian ships that could still maneuver began a desperate retreat. The mighty invasion fleet had been reduced to a scattered collection of damaged vessels, their crystalline hulls dulled and cracked by quantum resonance. But victory had come at a cost. Several human carriers showed signs of quantum drive strain, and the unprecedented scale of the quantum field had revealed new phenomena that would require careful study. The battle was won, but Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The Arconian Empire wouldn't take this defeat lightly, and humanity needed to be ready for their response. The Arconian Empire's response came 3 days later. Not with a single fleet, but with 3. 15,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace simultaneously, their crystalline hulls modified with new resonance dampeners. At their center was the Imperial dreadnought World Breaker, a vessel twice the size of the previous flagship. Emperor Kraz Thul himself had come to oversee the destruction of this upstart species. In the war room of the Defiant, Admiral Sarah Chen studied the tactical display with grim determination. "They've adapted faster than we anticipated," she noted, watching the massive Arconian armada take up attack positions. "Those dampeners will reduce the effectiveness of our quantum resonance attacks." Dr. Elena Rodriguez nodded, her fingers dancing across holographic displays as she analyzed the enemy fleet. "They've reconfigured their crystal matrices. The previous frequencies won't work, but—" a smile crossed her face. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with." The quantum fold carriers had not been idle during the brief respite. Engineers had worked around the clock, implementing improvements based on the battle data. The Defiant and her sister ships now housed second-generation quantum drives, capable of even more precise reality manipulation. "All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Chen." Sarah's voice rang through the command network. "Execute Operation Hydra. Remember your training. Trust your ships. Trust each other." The human fleet split into 5 battle groups, each moving in patterns that seemed chaotic but followed complex quantum calculations. The Arconians had expected them to rely on the same tactics as before. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to innovate. Emperor Kraz Thul's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Your quantum trickery won't save you this time. Humans, the Empire does not forgive defiance. Your world will burn." The World Breaker's main weapon powered up, a planet-killing crystal accelerator designed to tear worlds apart at the atomic level. But Sarah had anticipated this. As the massive weapon began to charge, the human fleet initiated their countermove. "Dr. Rodriguez, activate the quantum mesh," Sarah commanded. Elena had spent the last 3 days preparing for this moment. The quantum fold drives of all human ships synchronized in a new configuration, creating not a field, but a lattice of interconnected quantum states that encompassed the entire battle space. Quantum mesh active, Elena reported. Beginning phase shift. The effect was immediate and stunning. The human ships seemed to blur, each vessel existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. But this time, they weren't just moving through space. They were manipulating the fundamental forces of reality around them. The World Breaker fired its main weapon, a beam of pure destruction that could shatter planets. But as it reached the quantum mesh, something extraordinary happened. The energy didn't just dissipate. It was caught in the quantum lattice, redirected through countless probability states. Impossible. Krasful raged as he watched his ultimate weapon's energy scatter harmlessly across space. All ships, close formation, crushed them with overwhelming force. But the Arconian fleet found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere. Human ships phased between quantum states faster than targeting computers could track. Their weapons struck from multiple realities simultaneously, bypassing shields that had been designed to operate in normal space. Elena's voice was tight with concentration as she monitored the quantum mesh. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual patterns in the space-time fabric. The mesh is creating opportunities we never predicted. We can." "Show me," Sarah interrupted, understanding immediately what her chief scientist was suggesting. The next phase of the battle demonstrated just how far humanity had pushed the boundaries of physics. The quantum fold carriers began creating temporary micro-universes around Arconian ships, trapping them in bubbles of altered reality, where their weapons and shields functioned according to different physical laws. The World Breaker itself found its crystalline structure being subtly altered as quantum fluctuations changed the very nature of matter within its hull. Systems began to fail as fundamental constants shifted unpredictably. "This is not possible." Krasful's voice had lost its imperial confidence. "What are you?" Sarah's response was calm but firm. "We are human, Emperor. We don't just adapt to technology. We reimagine it. You thought you were facing a primitive species. Instead, you've encountered one that has learned to rewrite the rules of reality itself." The battle reached its crescendo as the quantum mesh began to affect larger areas of space. Arconian ships found themselves fighting enemies that could attack from what seemed like infinite directions, their carefully planned formations breaking down into chaos. But the human fleet was not without its own challenges. The strain of maintaining the quantum mesh was enormous, and several ships showed signs of drive instability. They were pushing the technology to its absolute limits, and even Elena wasn't sure how long they could maintain this level of reality manipulation. The space around Earth had become a quantum storm, a maelstrom of altered realities where the laws of physics themselves seemed to be breaking down. The World Breaker, pride of the Arconian Empire, hung suspended in a web of quantum states, its crystalline structure reflecting countless possible futures. Emperor Krasful stood on his command deck, watching as his mighty armada was systematically dismantled by forces he could barely comprehend. The humans weren't just fighting his fleet. They were redefining the nature of space warfare itself. In the Defiance quantum core, Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored systems that were redlining across the board. "Admiral," she called to Sarah, "the mesh is becoming unstable. The quantum interactions are creating cascading effects we never predicted. We're seeing the emergence of new physical phenomena." Sarah Chen watched as reality itself seemed to ripple around their ships. The quantum mesh they had created was more than a weapon or a defense. It was becoming a catalyst for something entirely new. Space-time itself was responding to their manipulations in ways that even Elena's advanced theories hadn't predicted. "Hi, Admiral," one of Krasful's officers reported. "We're detecting quantum anomalies throughout the fleet. The humans' technology. It's not just affecting our ships, it's changing the fabric of space itself." The quantum mesh had evolved beyond its original design, creating zones where multiple realities overlapped. Arconian ships found themselves traversing spaces where time moved differently, where cause and effect became uncertain, where the very constants of the universe seemed fluid. "We have to end this now," Elena warned, her eyes fixed on readings that defied conventional physics. "The quantum interactions are approaching a critical threshold. If we don't stabilize the mesh, we could trigger a cascade that would affect this entire sector of space." Sarah nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. They had pushed their technology to its absolute limits, and now they needed to prove they could control it. She opened a channel to the world breaker. "Emperor Krasthul," she began, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Your fleet is trapped in a quantum matrix that we barely understand ourselves. If we don't act now to contain these reactions, we risk damage to the fabric of space-time itself. Are you prepared to be responsible for that level of destruction?" On the World Breaker's bridge, Krasthul felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Fear, not of the humans themselves, but of what they represented. In their drive to defend their world, they had stumbled upon forces that could reshape the galaxy itself. "What are your terms, Admiral Chen?" The Emperor's voice had lost its imperial arrogance. "An immediate cessation of hostilities," Sarah replied. "Recognition of Earth's sovereignty and independence. And," she paused, looking at Elena, who nodded in agreement, "a technological exchange. We need to understand what we've created here today, and we'll need the Empire's resources to do it safely." The quantum anomalies were spreading, creating patches of space where reality itself seemed uncertain. Both human and Arconian ships worked together now, using their combined technologies to contain the phenomena they had unleashed. Hours later, as the quantum mesh was carefully dissolved and normal spacetime reasserted itself, representatives from both sides met aboard a neutral vessel. The treaty they drafted would change the course of galactic history. Earth would not become part of the Arconian Empire, but neither would it stand alone. The quantum phenomena they had discovered demanded cooperation, leading to the establishment of the Galactic Physics Council, a joint human-Arconian initiative to study and control these new forces. "We came here expecting to find primitives," Krasthul admitted during the signing ceremony. "Instead, we found a species that has forced us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the universe." Sarah Chen looked out at the assembled fleet, human and Arconian ships, now floating peacefully side by side. "That's what humanity does best, Emperor. We question, we explore, we push boundaries. Today we pushed them further than we intended, but that's how progress happens." In the years that followed, the quantum-fold technology that had saved Earth became the foundation for a new era of galactic civilization. Human ingenuity combined with Arconian resources led to discoveries that transformed understanding of the universe itself. The battle above Earth became known as the Quantum Revolution, marking the moment when humanity proved it could stand among the stars not just as equals, but as pioneers. They had defended their world not through brute force, but by daring to reshape reality itself. As Elena Rodriguez would later write in her memoirs, "We thought we were developing a weapon, but what we really created was a key to understanding the deepest mysteries of the universe. In trying to save our world, we changed everyone's world, forever." The dawn of this new era brought challenges and opportunities that neither humanity nor the Arconians could have imagined, but they would face them together, united by the knowledge that the greatest discoveries come not from conquest, but from the courage to explore the unknown.